The call to the member for Clark.
Speaker, my question is to the Deputy Prime Minister representing the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade. Deputy Prime Minister, in July, 2 vessels reportedly docked in Botany Bay with some 175,000 tonnes of petrol from the Jamnagar refinery in India, which uses up to 55% Russian oil. So these vessels effectively carried some 90,000 tonnes of Russian-sourced petrol paid for by Australians, which will help fund Putin's war in Ukraine. Deputy Prime Minister, why are the loopholes in our sanctions so big you can drive a tanker through them?
Call to the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Defence and the Minister representing the Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Well, firstly, can I thank the member for his question, and in doing so acknowledge his commitment to the support of Ukraine in its resistance against the immoral invasion by Russia of its territory, and reiterate that our government, and I know the whole of the Australian people, stand with Ukraine in their resistance against Russia. And I was, at the NATO summit, able to meet with my counterpart, Rustem Umerov, to express our support for Ukraine in its resistance to Russia. And he indicated to me, as I know President Zelensky has to the Prime Minister, the deep sense of gratitude that the Ukrainian people have to the Australian people for supporting their cause. In relation to the question of sanctions, sanctioning Russia is a critically important part of what we need to do in terms of supporting Ukraine in its efforts to resist Russia. At that same NATO summit, I announced increased sanctions to an additional 44 people and entities, which now means that in total there are about 1,500 people and entities in Russia which are the subject of Australian sanctions, which sees a significant impact on the Russian economy in areas such as electronics, areas such as energy, areas such as finance. And it is a really important part of what we need to be doing to contest Russia in this moment. But it's not everything, as you know, and we continue to support Ukraine across the board. Since we've come to office, we have had iterative announcements in supporting Ukraine with renewed assistance, and that includes most recently 49 Abrams tanks, the first tranche of which are now in the hands of the Ukrainian armed forces. And we will.
The Deputy Prime Minister will pause. The member for Clark is entitled to a point of order, and he shall take that now.
Thank you, Speaker. On relevance, the question goes directly to the issue of Australia using Russian oil in the production of our petroleum and other fuels.
Yes, that was part of the question, and I'm just going to remind the Deputy Prime Minister, while he needs to be directly relevant, and he is talking about that issue, he has a remaining minute to conclude his answer.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker. And sanctions, which is the topic of the question that the member has asked, is an important part of what we are putting in place to stand with Ukraine, and our government will stand with Ukraine. I know the Australian people will stand with the people of Ukraine for as long as it takes for Ukraine to resolve this conflict on its terms.